The speaker for this session is Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner of India. He's one of the very few people who truly understands how the world's largest democracy works. Given his more than 35 years in the Indian civil services in various roles, he has also served as a secretary in the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. I request him to please come on the stage. And I also welcome the moderator for the session, Mr. Sandeep Mishra, Senior Assistant Editor, Times of India.
None of the above, or simply put, Nota option gives a voter the right to exercise the secret ballot, and at the same time, he or she need not vote for any candidate, but can disapprove all the candidates in the fray. The Election Commission of India has ordered the chief electoral officers of all the states and union territories to make it a reality in the forthcoming elections in May. Elections are all about electing someone to an organization or to the parliament. But this option is a step towards rejecting the candidates in the fray. Can this option decriminalize the political system in the country? Can it lead to introduction of right to reject or the right to reopen nominations? To know more about this, we have with us the Chief Election Commissioner, former Chief Election Commissioner, Dr. S.Y. Qureshi. I would now request Dr. Qureshi to enlighten us about Nota.
I am very privileged to be invited here to this function. We had a problem that youth were not really participating in the election. 18 to 19, 19 to 20 segment particularly was very indifferent. We wanted to know whether they don't like the electoral process, do they have very poor opinion of politicians, or do they know that 18 years and then they become eligible to vote. So we did a study and we decided that the qualifying date for enrollment as voter is 1st of January of every year. Normally our rolls used to be published in April, May, June, November. So we thought, why can't we start looking for them beforehand? October, November and December we looked for these who will become 18 on 1st of January. 15th of January 2011 across the country we notified the electoral roll. And interestingly, on 25th of January across the country in 6.5 lakh functions, every polling station, we gave them their voter ID cards. On the first National Voters' Day, which was presided over by the Rashtrapati Ji, in the presence of 35 chief election commissioners of the world, the program was born. And 18 million people got their voter card on that first day. Next year, 2012 National Voters' Day, 38 million people got their card. Last year it came down to 24 because by now some saturation was happening, and let us see what happens next month. In any case, this issue is related to my topic because none of the above debate is entirely about people's perception about the politicians. The fact is that the perception of the people about politicians is very, very low. If I have seen in any function when there is any reference to politicians ke sab neta chor hai, so sabse zyada taali bajti hai. Now this is very dangerous for democracy because you can't love democracy and hate politicians. Without politicians there cannot be any democracy. And all politicians cannot be painted black. They are a good politician. The fact that we have become a very major power, a near superpower in the last 60 years plus is thanks to good political leadership. Just look at our neighboring countries. We all got free at the same time, same people, same stock. Where are they and where are we? The difference is political leadership. In that scenario, to be contemptuous of politicians is very dangerous. But unfortunately, that is the reality. Although the world is very respectful towards India's democracy, for its sheer size, where we have more voters than all 50 countries of Europe put together, more voters than all 54 countries of Africa put together, more voters than all 43 countries of South and North America put together, and the entire Commonwealth. Yes, we are the largest democracy, but are we the greatest democracy? Probably we are not, because there are problems. The same international audiences who are appreciating India's democracy, when they question us about the presence of criminal MPs and criminal MLAs, we feel embarrassed. Right now, in today's parliament, out of 543 members, there are 162 who have criminal cases pending against them. And more than 100 against whom there are serious cases pending against them. And based on their own admission, given on an affidavit at the time of filing their nominations. Now what do you do in such a situation? When this is the situation, obviously people are very disillusioned with politics. That is when we have been demanding that politicians against whom there are serious cases, they should be disqualified from contesting an election, or debarred from contesting an election. This has been our demand for the last 15 years, from 1998. But the government is not taking it forward. People said that if the government is not debarring such people, the best way is that we debar them from winning, and we want none of the above, and they went to the Supreme Court in 2004. That Election Commission should be directed to have a button whereby you can express your opinion that you don't like any of them because they are dishonest. And on that basis, if the number of nota votes is large, there are two formulations. If more than 50% people exercise nota option, all the candidates should be rejected. Or if nota gets more votes than any other, which can be 20%, 25%, but more than the next person. So in that case also the entire panel should be rejected. This was the demand. But Supreme Court last year passed a judgment. They asked the Election Commission to introduce this button, but they did not create the right to reject. There was celebration in the lobby which wanted the nota, but then they were disappointed because this was not going to lead to rejection of all the candidates, leading to another election. But then what is the benefit? The reasons were more than just disapproval of the politician, and interestingly, although the PUCL petition was that Election Commission should be directed to introduce 49O button, none of the above, nota button, we ourselves from 2001 have been demanding that there should be such a button. But we were against the right to reject. So why were we demanding it? We were demanding it for two reasons. One, to guard your secrecy. If you don't want to vote, nobody should know that you have not voted. Suppose you are somebody, your candidate, your neighbor who knows you and you did not go to vote and he loses, then you had it. There will be reprisal. He will say that if you had gone to vote, all of you, and I would have won and I lost very narrowly. So there will be reprisal. And that is something which Supreme Court acknowledged, that's the word they use, that there will be reprisal. Secondly, what used to happen, as you know, there used to be booth capturing. Some of you may have experienced when you went to the polling station, you were told that your vote has already been cast. Somebody had gone, impersonated. Now, if you do not go to the polling station at all, it makes it possible for the imposters to come and vote in your name. You don't want that to happen. That's why but Rule 49O of the conduct of election rules, not of the Constitution as people were circulating through SMSs, suggests that if you do not want to vote, you will go to the polling station. You will announce to the presiding officer that you are not planning to vote, but please strike my name off so that in my name nobody else should come. Or if you have already taken the ballot paper and you say, no, I've changed my mind, I don't want to vote for anybody, because when I look at the list of people, I find them all undesirable. So you will be asked to return that ballot paper. But in the process, everybody in the booth will come to know that you are not voting. And there are rival candidates, agents sitting there. And that way is what will jeopardize your secrecy. Smarter people used to do something different. They'll take the ballot paper, fold it blank, and put it in the box, and pretend that they have voted, but actually the vote was blank. Or they will put 2-3 stamps, because if there is more than one, it is declared invalid. And some will, what the smartest, they will write sab chor hain, and fold karke dabbe mein. So reject. In all these cases, these all were rejected votes, rejected ballot. They were all invalid votes. Now, the implication of this judgment is that whether it's going to lead to rejection or not, I would like to explain. The fact is that if the 100 people come and vote, and 99% use nota, and one says Mr. Panda, for us, Mr. Panda is the winner because that is the only valid vote. Others are, none of the nota, and it means no vote, non-vote. Now this is, now that one vote may, by the way, that the only vote can be his also. Therefore, the Supreme Court did not declare it a right to reject for this reason, but they said that probably it will create a pressure on political parties to nominate good candidates. I think our Supreme Court has very good opinion of a politician. They feel that moral pressure will work on them, and they'll put up only good candidates. I don't think it really works. Otherwise, for 15 years, they would probably pass the bill. Another importance of this Supreme Court judgment was they created the right of negative voting, right not to vote, as a very important right of the citizens. In fact, they even raised it to the status of a fundamental right, that it is right not to vote or express negative vote is a part of your freedom of expression. Interestingly, if there are lawyers and jurists here, they would know that voting is not a constitutional right, it's a legal right. But right not to vote has been declared as a fundamental right, as a part of freedom of expression. Then another interesting thing, an important thing which came out of the Supreme Court judgment is the importance of participation. If you don't want to vote or none of the above, you don't like anybody, you can as well sit at home. And that also amounts to your rejection of all the vote. But Supreme Court said, and rightly so, that that is not really the best way of expressing your opinion. You may not have gone out of sheer laziness for any reason, but that doesn't really express your opinion. Supreme Court suggests that you go there, express your opinion, press a button, and then only you have really participated in democracy. Now, what difference is button going to make? The decision is that Election Commission has already introduced that button. Earlier, when there was a ballot paper, ballot box days, you could put a blank ballot box. You cannot press a button without really sounding a beep. Those of you who have voted, you will remember when you press the button, there is a loud beep, audible not only within the room but outside, to see that after 5 o'clock, if there is beep coming from the room, you know the booth is getting captured. So that beep, if you go inside the booth, pretend to press a button, but there is no beep, everybody knows you have not voted. Now what happens is, when you go there, when you press a button, there will be loud beep. You like any other voter, you will come out smiling, and you can tell every candidate that you voted for him only, so that they are all your friends, but at least your security is guaranteed. Now, is this a very good idea, right to reject? Is it really a worthwhile thing? Personally, I feel that right to reject is not a good thing. It will create more problems than it will solve. For instance, and it will raise more questions than it will answer. Question number one, whether all the candidates in that list will get rejected. There may be some good person also, you, any one of you. You don't have any criminal history. You do not have a negative baggage. Why should you be rejected with the top through 3, 4 tainted candidates? And then can you recontest? If you can recontest, then what was the point? You will fight, you will stand up again, then the same thing. How long will you be debarred? Will it lead to re-election? How many re-elections shall we have? More re-elections means more voter apathy. They will say that people also complain of election fatigue if there is election every now and then. When they say during the model code everything comes to a standstill, then there will be longer standstill. And then who conducts the elections? Not the 3 election commissioners, but 11 million people conduct the elections for us, all government servants, most of them teachers. Are those teachers? Will you be happy to be called again and again for election duty? They will tell you, हमारी बहनें हैं, माँ बहनें हैं, वो ये ड्यूटी करती हैं, बड़े बड़े डिफिकल्ट सर्कमस्टेंसेस में करते हैं, उनको बार बार बुलाते चले जाइए. Then we need security. How we draw security from borders, from militancy prone areas, paramilitary forces, and then send them here. It really makes our security vulnerable. So therefore, although it is easy, but it will have many more problems, and it may even lead to instability, particularly in some difficulty-prone states, and in situations when there is a hung house, 1 or 2 persons will make a difference. This kind of situation, this uncertainty can create a problem. Then what is the answer? To my mind, the answer is your increased participation. Please turn out. Please come up in large numbers. We have urban voter apathy. Those of you who are sitting in your drawing rooms and criticizing the politicians कि सब नेता चोर हैं, आप वोट देने तो गए नहीं थे. You didn't take the trouble to go and vote, although it's a paid holiday for you. Therefore, it's not only your right, it is your duty, without a legal compulsion, that you should go and vote for good candidates. And if 90%, 80% people turn out, the quality of representation will improve. And my message and request and appeal to the politicians is that if you continue your indifference to our electoral reform proposals, the vacuum does not stay. Somebody will fill the vacuum, and the court judgment, Supreme Court is filling your vacuum. You are abdicating your responsibility. That's why Supreme Court is coming into this. If you do not realize this and you leave this to the court and they come up with these electoral reforms, please, you will have nobody except yourself to blame. Please, it is time that you had a serious look at the electoral reform proposal. Come up to people's expectation. Otherwise, people coming to the street is easy. Sending them back home is a lot more difficult. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Before opening the floor to question, I have one question for you. With around 12 crore first-time voters joining the electorate this year, do you think Nota could prove to be the game changer? 1. 2, can it be feasible to increase voter participation without making it mandatory?
Well, mandatory, the voting for, I'm definitely against, because you can't have compulsion in democracy. Your right not to vote is also your right. Secondly, compulsory voting is not even feasible in India. Lots of leaders promote compulsory voting, but we are against it. Why is it not feasible? Because if it is mandatory and if you do not vote, you have committed a breach of law. You have committed a crime for which you will be punished. Now, if that punishment is even just a small fine of 1 rupee, but we must follow the due process of law, which means there will be a court notice given to you. 30 crore people did not vote in the last general election. That means 30 crore court cases will begin. Now, we are already grappling with 1.6 crores of court cases. So, Chief Justice of India, President, Prime Minister, everybody talks about it. Just less than 2 crore pendency, and we are worried. And after every election, we will give you 20, 30 crore more such cases. and somebody genuinely may not have been able to go, after all, daily wage worker. For him, this compulsory holiday for us, for employees of private and public sector. What about a daily wage worker? If he doesn't go to vote, you will also take away his political right. Probably the only right which the poor fellow has. So therefore, compulsion is definitely out of the way. Now, right to the nota will only give a message to politicians. If they are willing to take that message, if 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people say nota, and it is taken as a disapproval.
I agree with you that courts and civil society are stepping into the vacuum of the reforms in politics which are not being undertaken by politicians, by parliament. There are some of us who are trying. I have made proposals to Election Commission, to Law Commission. I have filed private members' bills for decriminalization of politics, to clean up funding. But I agree that it is taking time to build support. But my question to you is, there are some reforms which don't require so much political support, which can maybe be taken by the EC itself, or maybe with only little bit of effort. For example, 14 lakh armed forces personnel today are deprived from voting. I'm not sure what exactly the hurdles are. Perhaps you can tell us why we cannot introduce postal voting or some other things to enfranchise these people. Earlier in one of the sessions, one question was asked, what about technology? One of the reasons many people don't turn out to vote, they're middle class, they're a little more apathetic, they stay at home. But now with UID project, is it not possible that they can vote online once their identity and their citizenship can be verified? Can some of these reforms be actually implemented by the Election Commission without waiting for my colleagues and me to take it up in Parliament?
Now, the first point that you yourself have started thinking that you brought a bill, although you are a politician, that such people should be debarred. It's a very healthy thing. I would like to mention to you, I was in the IAS. There was a time when the reputation of the IAS was very bad. My children in school and colleges were embarrassed to tell their friends that their father is in the IAS. Now, till at that point, our attitude used to be, if my conscience is clear, I'm honest, if others are the chore, so what can I do? Let them be. But then that changed. That's not true. If their kartoot, their misdeeds are bringing me a bad name, then I must also do something. You'll recall in UP, IAS officers themselves took the initiative, and they organized a poll of identifying the 3 most corrupt IAS officers. Here were IAS officers themselves were trying to clean their image, and they were isolating their dishonest and corrupt colleagues. I think that was a good thing. And so number 2 was the armed forces. Well, they already have the postal ballot right, but only 3, 4, 5% ballots are able to come back. The reason is that we have only 13 days in which this postal ballot has to come back. Why? Because after the candidates have been finalized, the ballot paper has to be printed. And that printed ballot paper has to be dispatched to these soldiers all over the country and wherever in remote areas they may be located. And then they have to individually post it back. And of course, it is not on the last day of the poll. This can come even on the day of the counting, which may be a couple of weeks later. But we are only getting back only 5, 10, 5, 7%. The solution has already been given. But I'm surprised why the Defense Ministry is not publicizing it. We said proxy voting. We authorize anybody you like in your village, your parents, your wife, somebody who will go and vote. Your third question is, and we have Mr. Sam Petroda, why we cannot allow distance voting, internet voting. Well, internet voting is child's play for India. We are an IT superpower, but we will not do it. Why will we not do it? For totally different reasons. 2, 1, that even a simple technology like EVM has been taken to Supreme Court and all the courts all the while that, where when you are pressing a button, where is the vote going? Nobody knows that the election can be rigged. Now, if in a simple technology, 17th century technology calculator, basic calculator can be questioned. Now, banks are hacked. Pentagon is hacked every now and then. So, however high technology, the chances of the election getting robbed will be high. Secondly, now leave that technology apart. Why will not go for internet voting in the foreseeable future? Of course, they will all say that after a banking transaction can take place, why, what is wrong? Because we are bothered about your security and we are bothered about your integrity. What does that mean? If you can vote from home, somebody comes and puts a gun on your head, vote for me. We cannot save you in your home. Or somebody comes and brings an envelope, 5,000 rupees, vote for me. We cannot guard your integrity at home. So for these two reasons, we are not looking at internet voting. In the near future, I'm sure technology will throw up some solution. But look at the history, the way EVM has been questioned as such a simple thing, which is a standalone innocent machine. If that can be questioned, internet voting will definitely not find favor.
Thank you very much for this informative session. Now I would request Mrs. Jagi Mangat Panda to please come up on the stage and present the OTV Foresight Memento.
विरोधी दलर लक्ष्य होची सरकारी दल जो दल अच्छी ताको गादिच्युत करी निजे क्षमता को आसीबा ओडिशा रे सेही भली भाव रे विरोधी दलर लक्ष्य अच्छी नवीन पट्टनायक को हटेबा